I'm Rita Ostrander, and welcome to this episode of CLEAT News. Early voting has begun, and you can vote today through March 2nd. CLEAT has published an endorsement list, and it can be viewed on www.cleat.org or on our Facebook page. We will post the links in the description below. A huge 5-year CLEAT legal case was won at the beginning of the 2018 new year. On January 8th, the United States Supreme Court decided against taking up the legal case of Charles Kleinert, thus creating the legal victory for CLEAT. Since Kleinert was serving as a federal task force member at the time of the 2013 shooting, CLEAT argued and federal courts agreed that he had immunity from prosecution because his conduct was deemed reasonable under the circumstances. With combined legal costs reaching $1 million, CLEAT remained steadfast in defense of its member as the case made its way to the highest court in the nation. Soon after the Supreme Court's decision, the Travis County DA's office admitted defeat due to exhausted legal resources. CLEAT Executive Director Charley Wilkison has a message for his members. No matter the cost, no matter the consequence, CLEAT will bear all burdens in support of our members. In the continuing disruption of the Austin Police Association Meet and Confer contract, the City of Austin has telegraphed that the Police Department's Internal Affairs Division will begin conducting investigations into 2018 IA cases next week, and the Office of Police Monitor will be granted full access to the interviews and officers' IA file. CLEAT is objecting and is filing for injunctive relief in State District Court in Austin. CLEAT is seeking a temporary restraining order to stop this move that clearly violates officer rights and state civil service law. Houston Independent School District police layoffs have been averted after CLEAT officials met with HISD Chief Operating Officer Brian Busby in Houston yesterday. Beginning in early February, Houston media reports of HISD police layoffs circulated, causing many members to worry about the livelihood of their families. We have CLEAT Executive Director Charley Wilkison in studio to discuss the future of HISD officers and the HISD budget cuts. Welcome, Charley. You met with the HISD Superintendent, Chief Operating Officer, and the Chief of Police yesterday. How do you think that went?
The meeting went well, and the superintendent was in the meeting briefly in the beginning, and we met with the Chief of Police, Assistant Chief, and local union members, as well as Chief Operating Officer. There's not going to be any layoffs. They gave us their word on that. I think there gets to be political cover being sought by the school district, in the sense that they were open and discussing certain scenarios and assumptions should certain debt payment be called by the state, and certain repayment things that will be done eventually in some of the property rich and property poor school districts. And so, without getting all into the weeds on it, there was a discussion, an open meeting about what would happen if there were layoffs and when there would be, and what schools might be impacted and what you would go to operationally inside that department. And so that caused a lot of unrest, and rightly so. These officers have invested their life there. There's over 140 officers just in the ISD school district, so it would be a smaller department, but a lot of lives would be impacted. So we're proud to say that they gave us their word. There's not going to be layoffs. We don't really care how the conversation went, as long as, number one, that the students are safe. That's what every officer goes to work to protect communities. The most important part of a community are the families, and there's nothing more important to a family than the children. Yeah. So if you really look at it, officers are there to do their job, to risk their lives, to make great sacrifice to protect those kids and that investment in the future. And we're proud of that association for standing up. We're proud of them for asking us to come in. Mm-hmm. We were happy to be in that meeting, and so we were real clear that we don't want any layoffs, and they were clear that there's not going to be any. So we give both sides absolute credit for that, and mainly the officers on the ground for standing up for the safety of the kids is most important, and standing up for themselves and their family.
Mm-hmm. Well, thanks for sharing that. Thank you for tuning in to this episode of CLEAT News. Subscribe to our YouTube channel to stay up to date with all new Texas law enforcement.